All right, so we've been getting a few questions about the stuff we're doing in the DB Hammer project. So first, we're going to talk about oscillations. All right, Pete. So you want to talk about where you got it, or you've learned it from, or we've heard it from,
How we're applying it.
how we're applying it. Yeah.
Yeah. So oscillatory stuff. First heard about it when I read Cal Dietz's first training manual. Oh God, triphasic, right?
Yes.
All right. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah,
I was
no, that's
like,
a
are you
famous
brain
book,
fart?
but he talked about it using for the peaking method. He has whole things dedicated to that. In a lot of regards, I see that it's like, wow, it's pretty interesting. It looks more on the reflexive end, but
Definitely
the idea,
reflexive.
the idea behind it is you're basically trying to coordinate the agonist and antagonist muscles to contract and relax at a faster rate. Okay. Um, Essentially, Cal used the most powerful athletes or fast athletes in the world were the ones who now know how to do this the best. They're
The best, yeah.
inherently usually they're quite natural, like they're twitchy, right? They just know how to do, the scissors action in the legs is just very like
Twitchy right away,
yeah,
yeah.
you could tell, right? So oscillatory reps are good, I suppose, are a way to train that quality. um so that's where I first read about it, but it, essentially it was in strength programs. I think it was Poliquin and or Thibodeau. Christian Thibodeau talked about the 1.5 reps. Oh, Ian King. Okay, Ian King, maybe. That's right. 1.5 reps. And it was like, well, it's a 1.5 rep. It's kind of like, well, you do a partial, like let's say you're doing a deadlift, right? You go to your knees, go back down, touch the floor, then come back up. So that's a 1.5 range of motion, 1.5 rep. That's one rep, but it looks like a rep and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, it's a an offshoot of that. Also, more recently, dove into when I talked to Jeff Hauser about different types of training when we were out at the Strength Coach Pro clinic out there in North Carolina. He talked about the use of oscillatory reps. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And then he was on a podcast with Joel Smith by himself talking about it, and then the Just Fly one where they actually went deep dive into it, which was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
So it kind of rekindled that. But he had talked about the Javoric wave squats, and I'm like, oh crap, there goes, there's that name again, Javoric. Talked about the wave squats were kind of very similar to it, and all it is, you're using a portions of the range of motion, and you're essentially oscillating. So it looks like, if you're in a squat, a full range of squat is typically like that, boom, boom, and we're looking at knee, hip, torso, or I'm sorry, quad, whatever it may be, right? So an oscillatory would effectively be like that. It almost looks like you're bouncing. What we talk about is when an athlete looks bouncy, they usually can jump, can run, can do all types of things athletic. So in my view, the use of the oscillatory reps and how we're doing them is a bridge between grinding strength and ballistic strength. Again, here without the impact. So we're kind of making a mini plyometric effect without the impact, right? Although the full plyometric effect you would need an impact. And in DB Hammer's vernacular, the PIM, the plyo-iso-myometric, effectively doesn't need an impact, right? All you're using in a plyometric, and this is where most people get plyometrics wrong, I think. And here's a little bit of a rant, but it's really more of an educational thing, right? What does something need to be? What does something need to be plyometric? Essentially, using the eccentric phase to accentuate the concentric, right? Because you're looking at that, if you look at again the triphasic, right? It's eccentric. You have the isometric, which is your amortization phase, and then your concentric, which is your power producing. It's the positive. It's like in the bodybuilding vernacular, it'd be like in the negative, get hold, pause, and then positive. What you're trying to do in a plyometric effect is that eccentric phase is being used to minimize, or that eccentric strength is being used to minimize the amortization phase. So effectively, you rebound or you bounce out of that amortization phase and immediately into the
It still hears you because you got the microphone.
Okay. Immediately into the fucking truck going by. God damn it. Right when I'm in mid thought. Immediately into that concentric phase. In most sports, that's what you want.
Well,
You want that
usually, yeah.
seamless range of contractions where it looks effortless. So you're using the energy of one to produce the energy of an object, falling object, a body, or an implement, and then trying to absorb it, essentially absorb it in the body, boom, or with the kinetic energy of your body, use that kinetic energy for a high production out, whether it be a sprint, jump, throw, whatever it may be, or anything athletic. So what we're trying to do, the way we're applying it, essentially is on, well, we apply it in little ways every day. But on this day, the next 2 days, it's more of a, on the higher force end of it,
yeah.
right? Because we'll do three in the main lift, we'll do 3 oscillations and then into a faster rep. And today was the safety bar or the transformer bar squats on the safety bar setting, where you did 3 bounces at about the parallel position and then pop it up. Now, when you see these videos, you're going to see like ranges of motion. It's not going to look like an Olympic squat. It's not going to look like a deep squat. What we're trying to do is more of an athletic squat. Dietz will refer to that, where our stance is, about hip width, maybe slightly out, toes are more straight ahead, and our line is directly in that sagittal plane, because we're trying to get, use it to drive sprints, drive jumps. So we're going to be right in that zone. If we were looking for more of a strength effect, we would have a wider stance, super speed, as Jay Schroeder would call it, feet are almost right underneath the hips, almost touching. I don't know if we'll quite go that far with it, but that's a way you can use stances to affect affect your joint angles that will then affect the carryover to those things. Not to say those other stances or whatever don't carry over. Maybe they don't as much, and you get more of a shotgun effect. Which, guys, there's a time for everything. But the way we're using the oscillations, exactly that, to bridge the gap between the slow, grindy strength to the more explosive, ballistic stuff. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's I guess any more questions on using oscillatory reps?
And then how would you use that with the accessory movements as well?
Oh, okay. So we're using that a little bit. We're going a little bit more oscillations, and then the way I'm using it, and I don't know if this is quite in the DB Hammer model or in Cal Dietz's model, where you're going oscillations for time, which we may get into, but we'll go 5 oscillations or 5 bounces, as I like to call them, and then we're doing however many reps after that. So today was a 6 total reps per set, but we broke it up into 5 oscillations, 3 reps, 5 oscillations, 2 reps, 5 oscillations, 1 rep within that same set. So you're kind of getting rhythm and coordination work while you're doing that. You'll see that in our split squats today, the glute hams, a little bit too in the trampoline, which is a little bit of a different version of an oscillation where there's
we'll get into that.
Okay, but anyways, you'll see that later.
Yeah, so oscillations are definitely a very different training stimulus. Last week I completely died. I remember it was very, very difficult. It's very different. I'm definitely getting used to it more after having a week under my belt, but it's still really hard. Like even the squats, after 3 reps, I'm kind of like, damn, like I still have 2 more reps.
They're acutely intense, and again, the weight she's using is not that heavy.
I don't even have a plate on there.
Yeah, we don't even have for the squat, and she's pretty strong. Like she can squat well over 200 pounds, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we're not even at a plate yet. But we're using
controlling that weight. Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to absorb and reabsorb, but we're using the velocity metrics there to kind of manage that. Gotta sneeze real quick. No, I'm good.
You're good. All right. Yeah, but it's definitely like what I like to feel, especially is you're contracting, relaxing, like, and that's where it becomes smoother. And I can tell, like, on my better sets, the oscillations that look smoother are where I'm like physically actually contracting and relaxing the muscles.
Yeah, and you had gone up, I think, 5 more pounds this week.
Yeah.
But the bar speeds were
pretty much the same.
Yeah,
there's only one bad set that I was like.
You can't even call it a bad set. It's just when we're on a time clock, people got to get rid of this vernacular, good, bad, or whatever. Sometimes sets aren't. You're not always going to have linear progress. You got to take it where it's at. Take where you're at in terms of readiness that day. That's why we're using auto regulation,
right,
to kind of manage the sets. Like today, it was like for the sprints, they were pretty much like she was on the cusp of getting the cutoff after the second one, turned it up a little, and then all of a sudden hit a 3.248 on the very final one. It's all because I pissed her off apparently, and I don't even know what I said other than she stopped thinking so damn much. But she popped her, her best time even by a little bit, 1/100th. But even still, everything else was falling into play. But something like that again too, we're trying to take that slow grindy strength. When you have time to think about it, you can think about it, feeling your way through the lift or feeling your way through stuff. In sports, don't really have time to think about it. A lot of it's reactive, right? So we're trying to bridge that. Again, these oscillation type things are trying to almost get rid of the brain a little bit, right?
Yeah,
You're trying
definitely.
to become more reactive, more reflexive. So again, that's why I suppose, I'm guessing that it's going to bridge the gap between that slow grindy strength into the more ballistic, but also everybody can be ballistic, but can you react to it?
Right.
And those little oscillations, it'll be a variable rapid bar path every single time depending on
Definitely.
where you're at, your fatigue level bouncing out. But then again, there's nothing wrong with working your way through imperfect
Perfect. Yep.
positions all the time. You don't always, I
Imperfection
think that
training.
adds to that,
Yeah,
those little
definitely.
bounces in there, because you have to manipulate, you have to figure out like where the heck you have to be
Exactly.
with your posture and position.
Positioning. Yeah.
But yeah, that's oscillations in
Oscillations.
a
All
nutshell,
right.
at least how
Yeah.
we're using them.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Work hard always.
Rant hard always.